Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jada Blossom, and it is day 3 of our February 2025 release, and I have a 2-card video for you. Hey, so I'm using Jada Blossom's Gnome Dies Beekeeper add-ons that are new, the Be Kind stamp set that's new, the Tree Swing die that's new, the Sunflower dies, Jada Blossom's Halloween dies, and their photo frame die, along with odds and ends from called Fairy Garden from Doodlebug, the 6-inch pad from Doodlebug as well, and the Candy Stripe and Sprinkles from Doodlebug. And I did put this together on the Beekeeper add-ons assembly video, so check that out. So first of all, I have an A2 size card base cut out of Papertronic white cardstock, 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches, with my Martha Stewart scoreboard and my Teflon bone folder. Now I'm going to add a piece of paper from that Fairy Garden 6-inch pad from Doodlebug, cut at 1/16 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card base. There we go. And then next, I'm going to add in paper that is 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card base. So the other one is just going to peek, sort of like the plaid is just going to peek around the edge of this blue cloud paper from Doodlebug. So I'm going to use my ATG tape, and some Bearly Art glue around the edge, and I'm going to add that on. And I'm actually standing up to get this straight. Okay, so now that that is as straight as I'm going to get it, I think, we're going to stick it down. And I'm going to add some paper to the inside of this card. This is paper from that same 6-inch Doodlebug pad called Fairy Garden. And this is like 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card front, width-wise. It's like an inch. It's an inch by like 4 1/8 or something like that. There we go. Just using my adhesive eraser. Now, I did cut this Halloween die that's supposed to be like blood dripping or green ooze dripping out of yellow cardstock, and I'm making dripping honey with it. And I'm going to add that to my photo frame die, just along that edge. And I will trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. There we go. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned working on a Stampin' Up! Pad, used an Anna Griffin Empress machine for all my die cutting today. All the normal stuff. So there we go. Now I did cut these two sunflower dies out of Doodlebug's, what's it called? Petite Prince Candy Stripe and Sprinkles, the pink side. And then I used Distress Oxide ink around the edges of it. And then I also used some fossilized amber around that center. That was cut out of American Crafts cardstock. I didn't show you my inking because, you see me inking all the time. And I will weight it down with an acrylic block. So remember, those sunflower dies, they don't have to be sunflowers. They can be whatever flower you want. They could be whatever color you want. That's why I'm going with pink. So now I'm just getting a sentiment from that new Be Kind stamp set from Jada Blossom, lined up in my MISTI, and I've got an acetate sheet from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm just going to stamp and make sure it's straight. So it says Sweet as Honey, and it was straight, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp on my card. Remember, you don't want to make a mistake stamping on a card base. That would be awful. Although I would have just gone and gotten my Be Kind stamp set outline dies and just restamped it and cut it out and then covered it up. But there we go. So now I'm going to add some of these little odds and ends. These are the Fairy Garden odds and ends from Doodlebug. I like to use them on the inside of a card because I kind of like to match the inside to the outside a bit. So I'm going to put a pink flower on the inside and then a bee, just for fun. There we go. And I also wanted to get these in place before I stamped my sentiment on the inside of my card. So that's why I had it in the MISTI waiting to get stamped on, because I figured, I might as well get things arranged where I want them, and then I'll stamp the sentiment. So I'm going to add that adorable little bee, because I'm going to have a bee on the front of my card here as well. So there we go. Super fun. And now I'm going to stamp the sentiment Happy Bee Day from that brand new Be Kind stamp set, using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and my MISTI. we are. And I'm just going to stamp that again just to get a good crisp image. So now I'm pulling out a Secure White Jelly Roll pen and a number 10, and I'm going to add some highlights like I always do. I find it just makes it look a little bit more special, right? And I'm also going to use a black glaze pen on the bee's eyes, just so they have a little bit of dimension and shine, and they pop a little bit. So I really have loved this new release. Is the cutest thing. I love the new bees. The Beekeeper add-ons. This chubby little bee that I'm going to be using on my card, I think is my favorite. I love it. It is the cutest thing. So you'll be seeing that a lot from me, I think. I just can't help myself. So here is the black glaze pen now that I'm adding to my bee. And there we go. Super cute stuff. So now I'm going to get my placement for my flower ready. I'm going to have this looking like I'm taking a picture, and it's only, taking a picture of the head of the flower with the bee, but the background will all be still there. Do you know what I mean? So I'm adding on the little stem. Now I did ink around that with some Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink. And now I'm adding on my flower. Same thing, inked around with Distress Oxide ink in Picked Raspberry. There we go. Just to add a little something, something. And I will weight it down with an acrylic block. Now I'm going to add this little Polaroid, right? It kind of looks like a Polaroid, with some score tape. Now this is some really skinny score tape. I don't know if it's a 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch, something like that. And then I'll add my ATG tape to the bottom part. Just a little bit easier. I don't have to deal with the glue, right? And score tape sticks really well, so that you always have that. So I'm just going to peel off the release paper here, and then I'll add it to my card front. And it'll kind of look like a magnifying glass, right? Like, you're just taking a picture of the little scene, right? So I'm adding that on. There we go. Now, I am going to add a little bit of glue behind a couple of these petals that I missed. And, just gonna rub some glue behind each one. It's a little glue trick. There we go. And then I will kind of hold it in place for a second here. There we go. Now, I have this piece. This is from the new tree swing die. Those are the vines, and I'm going to use it as a little bee trail. And I cut it out of American Crafts gray cardstock, and I'm just going to glue it in place, and I will trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors. I'm just trying to figure out where it's going to go, and there we go. So I'm going to stick that down, and then I will pop my little bee up with some dimensionals. Isn't it cute? I just love these little bees. They're just adorable. They're the cutest thing. So there we go. I'm going to add some little ones as well. And I'm going to pop that bee in place here. Oops. Some part of that dimensional was sticking out. And there we go. And isn't that cute? I'm going to trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors here. There we go. And that is what the card looks like. Now I'm pulling out shape sprinkles. These are called Love This. And I'm going to add a few little shape sprinkles to this card just for fun. So 1 in the lower left and 2 in the upper right. So, visual triangles and all that jazz. And I'm going to add one of these blue ones as well, just because I can. So now this is my second card, everybody. So I'm using the Gnome Dies Beekeeper add-ons. These are new. The Be Kind stamp set that's new, and the outline dies. Bug Trail dies, Wheelbarrow dies, fall add-ons, and the photo frame die. And there we go. So I did put that Polaroid together, when I first got that little photo frame die. I used Candy Stripe and Sprinkles and Fairy Garden 6-inch pad from Doodlebug along with the matching odds and ends. So first I have a piece of Papertronic white cardstock, 4.25 by 8.5, scoring it at 4.25 to give you a 4.25 inch square card. And I'm going to just use my little Teflon bone folder. Now I'm going to add a 1-inch strip of paper from that Fairy Garden 6-inch pad to the inside, just for fun, like I always do. And I'll trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors. Now you saw that I put together that photo frame die earlier. Really, I just cut it out of white and then again out of the gingham linen. And I didn't show that, sorry, gingham linen. And I cut the thanks out of it, and then I added the little bug trail as well and inlaid it. So now I am going to put this card together. So I'm adding a piece of paper to the front of the card. Okay, so this is kind of a fun floral background. And I think it's 1/8 of an inch smaller. There we go. And now I am going to add my little Polaroid or my photo frame die. So this one is going to be a thank you card. There we go. And oops, I'm going to add a little bit of glue closer to the edge. And I will pop that down in place. There, so it says thanks. And you can see the little bug trail the bug trail. Now I'm going to be using this, what is it called? The Wheelbarrow Dies Fall Add-ons. I cut them out of black cardstock from American Crafts, and then I cut the leaves all out of Candy Stripe and Sprinkles. And I did ink around the edge of each one with Distress Oxide ink and Mowed Lawn. So I'm just going to stick down all the leaves first with some Bearly Art glue, using my reverse tweezers. This is just another way to use those wheelbarrow dies, the fall add-ons. It's got some great imagery. So now I did cut out these ones out of the purple paper from that Candy Stripe and Sprinkles, and I inked around the edge with Distress Oxide ink and Villainous Potion. And I didn't tape inking around the edge because you've seen me do that before. So I'm going to pop this one down with glue first, and then I'm going to add the other two with some Dimension, I believe. I think these are scrapbook adhesives. They are not as high as Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. So a little bit lower. So I'm just going to add those on the back, and just so you have a little bit of dimension on the card. That's always fun. So there we go. So these are going to be instead of sunflowers, these are just going to be purple flowers, right? And I'm going to add some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to this one, so it'll be a little bit higher. And get that in place. Now I did cut the centers all out using some yellow cardstock from American Crafts. And I did ink around the edge with fossilized amber from Distress Oxide ink. I'm just going to add my centers. And then we will put this card together. So it's kind of fun. I do like that new Be Kind stamp set. It's got some great sentiments for all year round, right? And all different things. So I'm going to glue down my little flower grouping at the bottom of this Polaroid. My only sentiment on the front of the card will be that thanks that I already die cut and inlaid into it. Now I'm going to put together this little chubby bee that's my favorite. American Crafts cardstock, Papertronic white cardstock, yellow cardstock from American Crafts. Oops, just going to get off any of those little threads from die cutting. There we go. And I'm going to use a black glaze pen from Sakura just to add some black glaze under where the eye is going to be, just so there's some shine under there. And then I will line up my super cute little bee. Oops, I forgot to clean out that eye a little bit. There we go. And then I will add the stripes on. I cut those out of American Crafts black cardstock as well. So I'm just going to add those on quickly here. There we go. And I have a super cute chubby little bee. I'm taking a BG10 and I'm just going to run it around the little wings just for fun. And I'm using old school diamond stickles. These things last forever. I don't know how long I've had these. And I'm just going to tap some shine on those wings. And there we go. So we gotta make sure we don't smear it while it dries. So next I'm going to add a sentiment onto the inside. So it's going to, I think it says something like, thank you for being my friend, something like that. So I'm going to stamp that in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. Yeah, thank you for being my friend. And I'm going to add some of these little odds and ends from the Fairy Garden from Doodlebug again. So a purple flower to kind of match what was going on the front. And then I'm going to add a couple of clouds and a bee, which is always fun. And then that way you get kind of a neat look on the inside of your card as well. So I'm just going to get the rest of the glue down, get it in place. And there we have it. And I will trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors. And I just think it looks super cute. I'm going to use a Secure White Jelly Roll pen and a number 10 just to add some highlights again, like I always do. And then Bob's Your Uncle. The inside is pretty much done, right? I do, like I said, like a little bit of highlights always is fun. So there we go. So that is super cute. Now the outside I'm just going to get finished here. Oops. I'm decided I'm going to add, these are the tree swing dies and these are the vines, and I'm going to use them as a bee trail. And I'm going to add them to the inside of the card. These were cut from American Crafts gray cardstock. I'm just going to have them kind of running behind the bee, and I'm going to add a few of them on this just for fun, like I always say. And I think it adds something, right? So I'm just trying to make it look like this bee was flying all over this card, and I'm just going to add this one as well, showing where this little bee is going to go next. I'm going to let it go right across that fold, but I will trim it where it covers the fold just so it folds easily. Because if you cover that fold, it's not going to fold flat. So I'm just going to trim the center off, and then I will get it in place here. There we go. So super easy stuff. And then, like I said, I'm just going to, make sure that's glued down well. And then I will trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors like I usually do. And there we go. So super fun, right? There's still room to write. So now I'm going to pop up this little bee with some dimensionals. And the front of the card is almost done. This was a really easy one. Lots of fun. Okay, so there we have it. And I'm going to peel off those backing papers and get this guy in place with my reverse tweezers. Sort of at the end of that little stitched line. Whoops, I'm just going to fix some of that stickles. There we go, whoops. And I am going to add on a few of these shape sprinkles. These are called Doodlebug's Shape Sprinkles. Love this. And they're just some hearts. So I'm going to add a few of these little hearts just for fun and a little bit of shine. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to add another one down there. And nope. And I'm going to open up the same package just because I wanted to get a couple of little ones to add. So there we go. So that is all. Super fun. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jada Blossom blog, be inspired by the team, the Jada Blossom store, to get your hands on these amazing products. And thanks as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Make sure you are a follower over at the Jada Blossom YouTube site and the Leanne K or the Lee Kubinick YouTube site as well. So then you will be notified when we have new videos. Bye, everybody.